feel it. Somebody testify, testify. You believe it, you receive it. You can feel it. Somebody testify. He's a day. Give me freedom, saving. Dear Jesus, thank you so much that we could all be here today, and we will bless the words of this sermon today. Amen.
I know what the cool thing is, even when technology doesn't work the way that it's supposed to, when for whatever reason the soundboard isn't cooperating, things just aren't working the way that they're supposed to sometimes, the cool news is that we still get to worship God, and He doesn't care what that sounds like. It's our hearts that matter, it's our desire to worship Him that matters, so that's just a cool thing that we get that opportunity. So somebody wants to hit the light so that we can not be in the dark. All right, woo, fantastic. How are you guys? Good morning. You're gonna need a sheet today. Some of you literally walked like into the stool, right past it, and we're like, oh, what's this? We've been using this every day for the last 10 years. So grab a sheet and a pen. Don't walk right past the deal when you come in. You guys make me laugh sometimes. I see more Bibles today, though. That's a step in the right direction. Go the right way.
Got one.
All right. Well, as you're getting situated again, welcome into the flood. If you're new here, we're glad that you're here. My name's Josh. I'm one of the co-directors down here. I'm excited that you're here this morning. We got some fun stuff to go over and just learn about Jesus this morning. We're in the middle of our series called Clarity and Static. If you've been upstairs with your parents at all, it's the same series, just with we call it the youth twist. So we kind of go through the same stuff that your parents are learning about. You can go home and talk to them about what you've learned. It was probably a couple of messages ago, and they can hopefully have a conversation with you about which is our goal. So, but clarity and static. Anybody want to real briefly just share what we've been talking about with this clarity and static message series? Anybody just want to quickly just overview that? Not everybody at one time. I know there was power tree in there. All right. Well, I'll recap it for us because it's been a long couple of weeks with everything in between. So, clarity and static is just our series is going to be really about finding clarity in our relationship with Christ and what that looks like, from the way that we act, from the things that we do. Looking at how do we know if we're a Christian, looking at how we treat others as Christians. And as many of you know, sometimes all that stuff isn't super clear, right? It's kind of staticky. Like we know that Jesus died for us, but there's a whole lot of other things that come into play between our relationship and Jesus dying for us. There's a lot of other stuff that go into that. How we act, the things that we do, the people that we interact with, the things that we say, how we treat others. Those are all things that come into play that we want to get some clarity here. Okay? So let's jump right into it here. And we're going to start off with a little bit of something for you to write down here. So I want you to write down on your sheet, in the notes area is fine, what are some traits that other people have that just bug you? What are some traits that other people have that just bug you? Like if this person did this, it would just drive you nuts. You would just be like, I don't know, you would just be freaking out. You got like no patience for this. What are some traits that other people have that just bug you? We'll share some in a minute here. Write down as many as you can think of that bug you. Some of your lists might be longer than others. Some of you are easily bugged. This is also probably depends on your current mood, how much you've slept, if you're hangry, all of those things, right? Those things all come into play when we're talking about people that bug you. Anybody care to share a couple of traits that people have that just bug you? Anybody? Yes?
Okay, so in my cross-country team, this one that references it, but he calls me Brando, which is really like things like, hey Brando, and she annoys me.
Sure.
And also, he always says just kidding at the end of everything. When he's saying hi to me. Anyways.
Hey Brando, just kidding.
And also in my summer camp, my whole cabin called me Brando after I corrected them a lot of times.
So people not really calling you your actual name is a little bit annoying. Kind of bugs you. All right, Brando. Braggers. People that are a little bit full of themselves. That like, have you ever had the person that you're super proud about something, and then they're like, yeah, I did that once. And you're like, I'm just telling you that I had a good time. Like, and they're like, yeah, I did better than that. Cool. Braggers. People that have to either one up you or just tell you everything about them.
We were trying to have a short conversation, and they talk like super long.
The Minnesota goodbye. The Minnesota goodbye, right? Like you say goodbye and 45 minutes later you're still talking, right? That's what we call the Minnesota goodbye. Yeah. You're just trying to be like, hey, what's up? Or you accidentally say, hey, how are you to somebody that actually wants to tell you how they are, right? And then it gets to be a long conversation. Yes. Come back here. Yes.
When you ask someone's opinion, they say they don't care.
All right. Yeah, none of you students in here are married. Hopefully you don't have a girlfriend yet or boyfriend yet. But this happens frequently with our spouses. You know, you have to ask them, like, where do you want to go out to eat? And they're like, I don't care. And you say, oh, let's go here. And they're like, nah, I don't want to go there. And you're like, you didn't care. How about here? And they're like, no, I don't want to go there. Okay, how about you choose? No, you choose. I don't care. Clearly you care. All right? And those traits bother you. Yes?
When someone asks you what's opinion, you say no, but they still do.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm good. I'm good. That happens a lot. I was in Europe a number of years ago, and the one rule is if you aren't hungry anymore, don't finish your plate. Because if you finish your plate completely, they assume that you're still hungry and give you more. So you have to like even just leave like a little bite left. And you're like, no, I'm good. Because if you eat it all and you're like, no, I'm good. They're like, no, you're not. Here you go. Here's another plate. And you're like, oh my gosh. And the dangerous part is if you don't eat all your food, it's rude. It means that you didn't like it. Even if it's your second plate, so now you're like trying to beg people to eat your food because your speakers are full. And keep loading you up. So yeah.
Last night, me and my dad was cleaning our house, like figuring out like something else for the bottle.
Yeah.
And then we do one section, my dad's like, okay, now we're done. And I go and put away the stuff. I'm like, oh wait, we should do the hallway now. And that went on for 2 hours.
Perfect.
Or at least probably 2 hours.
So sometimes new jobs and tasks that present themselves. Yes. Yes, the double standard. These are great. You guys are easily bugged. This is like the most interaction we've had for a while. I think we're gonna have a good topic today. Yes.
When your parents lie, like, when they say you do all these chores, all this stuff,
Everyone's like, oh yeah. Yeah, he hit a chord there, yeah. When parents lie is how we started it.
yeah, and then they're like, you shouldn't lie.
Yeah. See, it's a bargaining chip that we as parents have. Because if we didn't say that, you wouldn't complete it, right? And then we're like, oh my gosh, you actually did it. Now I have to think about what happened. Anybody else? Any other traits? Traits that people have that just bug you? Somebody. Yes, you're trying to have a serious competitive game, and someone just either doesn't take it seriously, or they like start pretending, or like they ruin the game, whatever it is.
When you're in your car and
Lies.
All right, two more. Yes.
People always have to one up you whenever you say things. They always have to make it.
It's so annoying, isn't it? So annoying. You're like, I just want to tell you something that was fun that I did. I didn't need to know that you did something better. Right? You're like, you would never believe I caught this fish. It was like this, and then like, that's pretty cool, but I caught one like this. I'm like, I don't care, man. Like, I don't care. Last one. Anybody else? All right.
Wait,
Last one.
this one actually happened yesterday. Like I had a tablet and I dropped it like 20 times, like no damage at all, not even scratch. And then I put it in my backpack. I go to his house. I come back and it's shattered. It doesn't even work.
Bummer.
Motley.
I'm not sure how that's a trait that somebody has that bugs you, but that would bug me to break my tablet. All right, so let's continue on here. All those traits that you shared are things that probably bother many of us. Those are things that get us upset. Maybe we lose patience over them. Maybe we get mad over those things. I just want to share a section of verses that you're probably very familiar with. And I want you to think of this set of verses in these circumstances. It's not easy to do this. None of the things that we talk about today are easy to do, right? This is a very challenging message for all of us in these circumstances, and we'll get to what that means here in a second. But I just want to share what this section of verses say. You've probably heard this many, many times. But 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8, and just an FYI, none of the verses that aren't 1 John are written on here, so if you want to go back and reference any of these, you'll have to write them down in your notes, okay? All right, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. As soon as I start reading this, if you've heard this section of verses before, just raise your hand. I want to see how many people have heard this before. Love is patient. Love is kind. All right, you put your hands down. I know that everyone's going to pepper in this. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. It's not boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable. And it keeps no record of wrongdoing. Okay, this isn't just for our marriage vows and stuff like that we say to our spouses. It says that we're supposed to love who? Our, starts with an E and ends in enemy? Enemies. We're supposed to love our enemies, right? We're supposed to love those who persecute us. We're supposed to love those that are really tough to love. We're supposed to love those that require a little bit extra, right? So listen to the last person that bugged you and tell me if you acted like this towards them. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith. It's always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. I don't know about you, but I've had some pretty recent people that have really pushed my buttons, and I didn't act this way towards them all the time. Right? I didn't always show them love. I didn't always hope that they would benefit from our conversation. I didn't always hope for, I would keep records of what they did to be able to say, hey, but look at what you did a week ago. Right? And we use that to hold a grudge against them. To be like, to shove it back in their face when we need to. Right? It's not easy. Not easy to do those things. And it's not just for those boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives. This is for us as a group of Christians to love other people. Right? How weird would it be if you treated those people like that, though? They would be a little bit like, whoa. Why are you acting so nice to me? Why are you doing this? All right, let's continue on. So we're going to be talking about EGRs today, as it's on the screen. That's what an EGR stands for, right? Extra grace required is what it stands for. And these are those people that just bug you. These are those people that just drive you nuts. These are those people that no matter how much rest you have, no matter how well fed you are, no matter how prepared you are, somehow they just push your buttons. They just make you mad. They just, whatever it is, they just bother you. Whether it's the person at school that just keeps calling you names and is just trying to be silly, or it's somebody that's, I don't know, maybe they have just been put in your life to just bother you, right? And they just bug you, and no matter what they do, like everything about them starts to annoy you, right? You know who I'm talking about in your mind. Maybe this is a sibling, maybe this is a neighbor, maybe this is somebody from school, maybe this is somebody on your sports team. I don't know who this is to you, right? But there's somebody in your mind that comes to mind when you're like EGR, extra grace required, somebody that just bothers you. Like, you get to the point where them just like eating their food bothers you. You're like, I hate the way that you chew your food, right? Like, people just bother you. Some people get to that point where you're just like, I can't stand this person. I can't stand the way they eat, right? And sometimes these are our siblings, like I said. I remember plenty of times when, like, we would just like look at each other, and you didn't have to say anything, and you were already mad at your sibling just because they looked at you bad, right? Those of you that have siblings know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, you don't even need to communicate to one another, and you're already just like looking at each other, like, oh my gosh, can't believe you looked at me like that, right? The giggles tell me that it's accurate. Right? So I want you to be really honest here and kind of write by those things that you wrote down in your notes of traits that bother you about other people. I want you to think about the last experience you had with somebody that required a little bit of extra grace. And I want you to rate yourself on how you handled that last person in your life. 1 through 10. 1 being you were terrible, like you punched them in the face and said, I hate you and I'm never going to talk to you again. And 10 being like you sat for 4 hours while they were burping in your face with them, okay? Right. So rate yourself 1 to 10. Rate yourself 1 to 10 on the last experience that you had with somebody that required a little extra grace. 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, not so good. 7, 8, 9, 10, you were like a saint with them. You were doing fantastic things. Somewhere in the middle, you did okay. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a poll, okay? I want you to raise your hand when I tell you the scale that you wrote down, all right? So if you wrote down 1 through 4, raise your hand. If you wrote down a 1 through 4, raise your hand. If you wrote down a 5, 6, or 7, raise your hand. 8, 9, or 10? All right. So like 85 or 90% of you wrote a 5 or below. So that's perfect because that's exactly what this message is going to talk about today. It's the times where we need a little extra grace, right? A little extra grace. All right, so EGRs, extra grace people. Avoid this, not them. Avoid doing these things, but don't avoid the person. Okay? These people that are put into our lives that are really annoying sometimes are put there on purpose. Sometimes they really need us to have a little bit of extra grace. Sometimes those people really need us to step our game up. Sometimes these people are acting this way because something else is going on in their lives that they really don't know how to share, but they outwardly act in a specific way and they need our love. Sometimes these people are there to teach us a lesson of patience, right? But I want to encourage you that you want to avoid these things that I'm going to list up here, but I don't want you to avoid them. Don't go out of your way to avoid them. It's not easy, remember. It's not easy for us to not avoid these people because it's not fun. It's not easy, right? I can think of really recent stories of times where you kind of maybe took a different route to get to a different, to even at church. I'm going to go this way to get away from this conversation because I don't want to talk to them right now. I don't have enough grace to do that right now. I'm going to blow up if I talk to them right now, right? Or I'm going to pretend that I'm on my phone and ignore whatever's going on because I'm busy right now, right? Or, oh wow, look at that, my phone's ringing. I can't talk to you right now, somebody's calling me. Oh yeah, hey mom, what's up? Yeah. We make up a conversation, right? Because we want to avoid these people because it's not easy. But again, I want to encourage you, avoid these things, but not the person. First one, focusing on the negative. Alright? So I'm going to share with some of these things that we can do that can help us in these times of getting through these people that have a little extra grace required. Right? And the first one here is focusing on the negative. Avoid focusing on what's bothering you. Okay? Believe it or not, just a little twist in the mind, a little bit of focusing on something else can go a long ways. If we're mad because the person keeps calling us the wrong name, if we focus on the person calling us the wrong name, that's going to bug us. But if we focus on who they are as a person and trying to become a better friend, that changes things a little bit. Now we're not worried quite as much about the fact that they're calling us weird names, right? But remember, none of these things are easy, okay? These are things that I'm suggesting that we do, but they're not easy to do, right? So don't focus on the negative. Let's take a look at what Philippians has to say. Philippians 4:8 is another one that you have probably heard before, but open up your Bibles to Philippians. Everybody. If you don't have one, look at them with your neighbor. All right. Again, if you've heard this verse before, just pop your hand up in the air when I start reading it, okay? Philippians 4:8. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about such things that are worthy of excellence and worthy of praise. All right, put your hands down. Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on the things that bug us. Don't focus on those things, because those are the things that are bothering us. And if we focus on those things, it's not going to go well. We're going to get easily mad. But if we focus on these things that were just listed here, if we focus on those things, things that are honorable and right and pure and lovely, it changes things a little bit. It's kind of hard to be mad at somebody when we're focusing on the good things that they're doing towards us. Right? But it's pretty easy to be upset with somebody when we're focusing on the things that are making us mad. So, let's not focus on the negative. Number 2. Avoid anger, slander, making fun of others. Avoid those things, right? Avoid being angry with them. Okay? Hey guys, do I need to switch you up? So avoid doing those things, because I'll tell you what, sometimes these people that are put into our lives, they're looking for us to get angry. They're looking for us to yell back at them. They're looking at us to get upset. Some people find that fun, right? Some people do that. And I want to encourage you, avoid getting angry. Avoid saying bad things about them. That's what slander is. Avoid making fun of them behind their back. Avoid turning around and saying something that you wouldn't want said about you, right? So Ephesians, let's take a look at Ephesians. There's one book backwards. Ephesians 4:2. Always be humble. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Hey. Sorry. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other. Make allowance for each other's faults because of your love. When I read that verse last night to plug it in here, I was like, oh my gosh. That is difficult to do sometimes. That second part of that verse for me, making allowance for each other's faults. Making allowance for each other's faults. That means that when somebody's really bugging you, we got to give them a little bit of extra grace. Got to give them a little extra grace. Being patient with them. All those things. So avoid being angry. Avoid saying things about them behind their back. Avoid making fun of them. Number 3. Retaliation or payback. how easy is it for us to have these people and we're like, we just want to get them back, right? We just want to annoy them back. We just want to do something to get them back for these things. And they're bothering us, they're making fun of us, they're doing annoying sounds, we want to do something. We want to call them out. We want to make fun of them in front of somebody else. We want to make them stop. We want to sock them in the face. We want to, whatever. We want to stop talking to them. We want to do something. I encourage you to avoid retaliation or payback. Okay? We're going to go to 1 Peter now, which is right before 2 Peter. Yeah. See what I did there? 1 Peter 3:9. Again, if you have your Bible, open up to these, or write these down so you can, your discussion groups can take a look at some of these verses. Here's a big one, though. Here's a big verse for us. Don't repay evil for evil. Don't retaliate with insults when people insult you. Instead, pay them back with a blessing. That is what God has called you to do, and He will bless you for it. Pay them back with a blessing. It didn't just say ignore them. It didn't just say deal with it. It didn't just say some of the things that we wish it probably would have said. But it said to pay them back with a blessing. Pretty tough. Pretty tough to pay these people back with a blessing sometimes. But we would definitely want to avoid retaliation and payback. But on the complete opposite side, don't just avoid those things. We want to do the complete opposite. We want to pay them back with a blessing. We want to pay them back with something good. We want to do something for them. Not just deal with them, but enjoy dealing with them. Not easy. Enjoy dealing with the people that require extra grace sometimes. Because these people will build up our character. They build up who we are as a person. They build up who we are able to relate with people with. They build our relationship with that person. I've dealt with plenty of people that fit this description, that when I have given them some grace, they become really good friends. They become people that have been impacted by the way that I treated them, because they've said, nobody's ever done that to me before. Nobody's ever listened to me before. As well as, sometimes they impact me. They change what I'm about. They teach me something out of it. Okay. And last but not least, let's take a look at 1 John. And this one is, would you believe it, before 2 John. Whoa. 1 John chapter 3. You guys are doing great this morning with lots of extra verses. I think they're all applicable. 1 John 3:11 through 15. This is the message you have heard from the beginning. We should love one another. We must not be like Cain. Who's ever heard the story of Cain and Abel? Okay? We must not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one and killed his brother. And why did he kill his brother? Because Cain had been doing what was evil, and his brother had been doing what was righteous. So don't be surprised, dear brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. If we love our Christian brothers and sisters, it proves that we have passed from death to life. But a person who has no love is still dead. Love those people that require much love from us. Give grace to those people that require a lot of grace. Give tons of patience to the people that require a lot of patience from us. A, it will impact us. B, it will impact them. C, that's what God's Word tells us to do. Let's continue on here. So that's great. We talked about those things, but now what do I do? What do I do with these people, right? Ephesians 4:2, we read this one just a second ago. Anybody remember it? I'll go back to it. I have this one highlighted, underlined, starred in my Bible. If you haven't, I highly suggest it. Ephesians 4:2, always be humble and gentle. Be patient with one another, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. That is what I try to do all the time. I try to be humble. It's not easy. I like to be proud. I like to tell other people how good I am. I like to tell people that stuff. I like to tell them about my accomplishments. We all like to talk about ourselves. That's just the way that we've been created. But be humble and gentle. Be patient. And I think that will go a long way with these people. Have a plan, right? Don't go into this this relationship thinking that you're just going to fix them just by doing whatever you're going to do. If you don't go in there with what your outcome, what you want to do, if you go in there thinking, hey, we're just gonna be friends and I'm not gonna think anything about it, you're getting annoyed pretty quickly. But if you go in there saying, hey, you know what, I'm gonna give this guy a little extra grace. I'm gonna go into this relationship hoping that I can be patient and loving and kind. Change the way that you approach that entire deal a whole lot different. Right? It's the same thing that we did with you guys the day before, or the Sunday before we left on fall retreat. What did we do with a certain individual in here? We gave you a plan. We told you what was going on. We told you why. We wanted to give you a plan. Because if you didn't have a plan, you didn't know anything about him, you didn't know anything that was going on, when he came and swore at you, you'd be like, what the heck? What did I do? I didn't do anything. But when you have a plan and you know the reasoning and you go into the conversation or the relationship knowing what you have a desire to do, and our desire was to love and treat him with kindness as a Christian, it changes things. It changes things a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier. Not a lot easier, but a little easier. Gives us a little bit of a direction. 1 John 3:19, and this will be our last verse, and we'll start wrapping it up here. 1 John 3:19. Think about this one a lot, okay? And I want you to really talk about this in your D groups today. Our actions will show that we belong to the truth. Our actions will show that we belong to the truth. So we will be confident that we stand before God. Our actions will show that we belong to the truth. People should be able to look at you and say, Josh, I can tell by the way that you acted towards that person. I don't know anybody else that could have done that unless they were a Christian. People should be able to look at you and be like, something different about you. You probably hear us say that a lot, that our outward appearance shouldn't just be the same as everybody else. We shouldn't look the same as everybody else. God's word calls us to be the salt of the earth, to be different from other people, to be the light in a dark, nasty world. And that's the verse right here that explains that to us. That says that let others know that we're part of the truth by our actions. Let us love others, care for others, treat others in such a way that people look at you and be like, whoa, nobody's ever loved that person like that before. Nobody's ever been that patient with that person before. Going back to the person we were just talking about a little bit ago at retreat, he's been to many churches that haven't loved him. And he's just an easy example that I have right now of somebody that most of us know. But other churches have said, nah, we don't want you. They've kicked him out of churches by the way that he's acted. And many of us know why. We can see it. Sometimes we want to do the same thing. It's just our selfish desires. But that wouldn't be walking through with what 1 John 3:19 says. And I feel bad for those other churches. And I hope that they can see that. Their actions aren't pointing towards the truth. Because let's face it, let's look at our own lives and look at the way that we treat Jesus. We do the same thing. Many times we are the EGRs in the relationship with Jesus. We have a lot of stuff that if Jesus didn't have a lot of patience, would really be annoying. When we say sorry a million times for the sins that we keep doing, for the bad attitudes that we have about stuff, for whatever it is, we are the ones that have EGR status sometimes. And not even just with our relationship with Jesus, but sometimes we are the EGRs to other people. Sometimes we are the anointed ones. Sometimes we are this to other people. I challenge you to look at yourself and see if you are that person, and if you are, maybe you should look at the way that you're acting and see if that's pointing people back to the truth. So we're going to pray. I want you to look at these questions. This is what we're going to hopefully have you answer during your D-group time. But I'll just read through them quick and then I'll pray and we'll dismiss, okay? What are some things that just drive you nuts about other people? We talked about that one. I want you to share that with your group. Number 2, have you ever had a extra grace required encounter? I think many of us have, based on the stories that we shared. Number 3, how did you act towards them? Were you modeling 1 John 3:19? Were you giving them a little extra grace, or were you maybe a little abrasive, or mean, or rude, or short? Number 4, because if we never look at number 4, then everything else that we do is worthless, right? If we just talk about doing something, we never do anything about it, it's pretty pointless then, right? So that's why I always like to end off with, what can we do better next time? What can we do in the next encounter that we have that can be better? Not be a complete 180 and everything is perfect, but what's one area that we can improve on? Okay? So let me pray for us and we'll head up. Jesus, we thank you so much for this series of clarity in a world that can be confusing. In a world full of static and gray area and things that just don't make sense sometimes. Jesus, we as much as it hurts me to say, thank you for those EGRs in our lives. Because I truly believe they make me a better person. It's not easy becoming a better person. It's not easy to put our lives on the route of following you and being all in. But sometimes these people are placed in our lives to strengthen our relationship with you, to build our character, to build the traits that we have. And God, that's invaluable to us. So Jesus, we lift up this week to you, that when we encounter these people, that we treat them with love, kindness, and compassion, and patience. And let us be a light, let us be the salt, and let others know that we belong to you in Christ by our actions. Pray these things in your holy, perfect name. Amen. So we have a couple of leaders that are missing. So if you are, I think the boys are pretty decent. So we'll do still normal 6th grade with Andy. 7th grade, sorry. 7th grade with Andy. 8th grade with Jeremy. And how many 6th grade boys do we got? 6th graders? A couple of you? 6th graders, if you want to jump with Brett. Right up front. Yeah, jump right into the Brett. And then ladies, I think we got 2. So if you want how many 6th graders? Okay, so you want to go with 7th graders? 7th graders want to go with Heidi, and then 8th graders. Thanks for joining us this morning. Well, yeah.